Okay, I'm going to be part of a panel discussion that's going to get started in just a few minutes. It's a little bit chaotic at this moment, but in just a few minutes, we'll have a panel discussion on multiple views of independence and the UN recognition of self-determination law in the international legal stage. We got a professor from Australia who's an expert. I'll be representing California. There'll be people talking about Texas. So it should be very high level. Just give us a few minutes.
Good to see you again. Very good. Back when I was in office. Sorry. Yeah, that's great. There are flat reps who've been there over 20 years. Yeah, I agree. We take somebody, take it down. I mean, I didn't really know that. It wasn't the same reason that has expanded. Yeah. Anyway, nice to meet you.
Mic test. Mic test. Okay, everyone, can we please find our way back to our seats so we can get started? I just don't want to
My backup filming, I'm streaming, but if that fails,
I got you.
because if you don't record your own stuff, never count on media doing it for you. That was wordless like this.
All right, everyone, back to your seat, please.
I promise it'll be good. All right. You guys want we can do a group chuckle? You're tossing you and then you tell me.
Did I say go out the door? No, I said back to the seats and everybody goes out the door. What's going on here?
They have important conversations.
I don't know. What? Were you pushing people out the door? Is that what I just saw? Are you sure? Okay.
They wanted to finish their conversation.
Highlight of the evening.
See, I knew I shouldn't let y'all got out of the seats. I knew better. I knew better because I've done this too many times before, and now we've lost half the room when we got the best guys on the stage, right? So feel me on them, right? All right, so couple announcements, and those that are hanging out in the hall won't hear them, right? So earlier today, well, actually it was yesterday, Fox News here local came and ran a story. Okay, made Fox News. Okay, ran local. They titled the headline, "Dozens of People Show Up to Brexit Conference." Because you know the media loves us so much, right?
Oh, yeah.
So today our communications director, Yvonne, I don't know if she's in here. Where she's at? Oh, there she is. I couldn't see her. Her face was covered up. She taught us a social media class today in one of the opposite rooms here. And so Yvonne showed everyone how to correctly use social media to help your causes and whatever. So she told everybody to go out and tweet back that this was incorrect reporting. There's more than dozens of people here. Well, guess what? It worked. We got a retraction, and they've already printed it. Hundreds of people. Go us, okay? Thanks, Yvonne.
Thank you guys for tweeting. That's what did it. Is everybody tweeting and making sure that they knew that there was actually an error in their article.
Yeah.
So thank you guys.
Yeah. So see, it's fun for us to get to give y'all a little positive actions or reinforcements and stuff, and not everything negative or whatever. So here's one thing I haven't done today. Maybe I did it the other day. I can't really remember. I did it a whole lot last night if you were at our gala. If you weren't, I'm sorry you weren't with us. I would encourage you to become a Line in the Sand member so that you can be with us at our next one. The TNM currently has a huge fundraising goal. And I know a lot of you are already clenching your wallet because you know I'm fixing to ask you for money because it's my favorite thing to do.
It wasn't my wallet.
Hush up, Daniel.
It's gonna be a little bit difficult.
How about I do this? How about I make a game a little bit different? Dale Henson, one of my favorite men. Tell everybody why I'm asking for money right now. Because y'all get tired of hearing from me. Stand up and tell the crowd what I'm asking, specifically why I'm asking for money, because I have a huge goal I need to hit. Now I say it's not really me, it's the TNM's goal, but they always make me go ask for the money.
She's asking for money so we can get enough signatures for the petition to get this bill on the ballot. That's the bottom line. We've got to hit the goal.
Have Dale trained. Dale, how much does it cost? Yeah, he's doing his dolphin life. How much does it cost
It
per
costs,
petition signature?
it costs about $2 for a signature. So how short are we?
I don't have an exact number. Oh, wait, money-wise? Or petition-wise?
Money or either money or
Okay,
signatures. We can do
So
the math.
I don't have an exact
Factor it in.
number on money because I've been busy all day and I haven't been able to go look at the accounts and reconcile and all this and blah, 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 blah. However, we started with $80,000 was our ask. We had our Line in the Sand gala I told you about last night. That is the giving society within the TNM. If you donate between $1,000 to $10,000, you get to come be a Line in the Sand member with us. You get a lot of perks. You get gifts. You get galas. You get dinners with Daniel. You get lots of things. Ignore his face because he never knows what I'm going to say. He just has to roll along with it. And he's used to it. It's okay.
Is it Long John Silver's?
And this is the rule. When he asks to go to dinner, Daniel will request Long John Silver's. So he's a cheap date. But the rule is, if he goes to Long John Silver's, he has to wear the paper pirate hat. I'm telling stories, see, because when Daniel was in my vehicle, I don't eat Long John Silver's. And he requests to go through Long John Silver's. There is a paper pirate hat that stays stashed in the pocket. I have pictures. And he has to wear it when he eats his Long John Silver's. We have a weird relationship. That's all I can tell y'all. Anyway, so we had a great night last night. We had a huge fundraising goal. We have a member in our society that challenged us. We had one member that stood up, gave me $1,000 right there. I loved it. I had another member that stood up, said, "I tell you what, I'll up the ante on you. I will match $20,000
Whoa.
if you raise it tonight."
Oh.
Well, I'm happy to say I raised it. We raised it. We got the match. Well, not free. I need some more money. Now, it's $2. Well, why does it cost $2? Anybody want to explain, or I got to go through this again? We are suppressed by big tech. We can't get our stuff out. Blah, 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 blah. Y'all have heard it over and over and over again. What did we do? We got smart. We went to a third party that said, "We can do this for you." We said, "No, you can't." They said, "Yes, we can." We said, "Prove it." We gave them a little bit of money and made them go try to prove it. They couldn't prove it to us. And we said, "Well, that's not going to work. We're not going to give you any more money." No, we can do it. We can do it. We can do it. Well, prove it to us. They went to work, figured out whatever they do, algorithm rise or whatever. Daniel helped them, whatever. Guess what? They proved it. We got excited again because that kind of let us down a little bit because it took about 6 weeks. And y'all know in this petition drive, we have a 6-month window, right? That we have to reach this in. So we're moving along in that. Now, remember, we have all of our volunteers out in the field. They're collecting, they're working every weekend. I tell y'all, we have the hardest working volunteers. Y'all, if you're not a volunteer, you don't know what these people get put through. Every weekend, somebody is somewhere in the state of Texas collecting signatures for us. But it's just like anything else, whether you're in a church group or whatever it might be, it's always just 3% to get everything done, right?
Mhm.
It's just how it is. It's not any different from us. And guys, we just didn't have enough foot people out every weekend, huh, Carl Lime?
Yeah.
Getting the signatures. So, long story short, we were very fortunate with Daniel's help, the company's help. They have been able to help us, but it cost us money to pay them. It cost us $2 for every signature that we get. Now, you still might not really understand that, but it's because they have to apply technology and, y'all know everything in this world costs money. We don't get nothing for free. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
But for us, it was good because like 2 years ago, last year, the quote was $7 is what we were spending per one signature. So $2 is a great bargain. Now, the cool thing is we get to use those names that we collect, and then we get to remarket to them. So it's a great return on your investment, right?
Yeah.
Because those are all new people that said, guess what? They stuck their hand in the air. They wrote their name down and said, we'll go vote for you. If you get this on the ballot, we're going to go vote for this. And we need that. We have to have this to pass, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, with the help of what we raised last night, whatever that total is, because I swear to y'all, I honestly don't know the total, but I know it was a lot more than I had when I started. That's what I care about. I know my match was made. That's what I care about. This morning I told you that we had 60,000 signatures from them. I don't even know if you know this yet. Nate just looked it up. We're already at 64,000 from yesterday. So, my ask, the T&M's ask, Nate's ask, Daniel's ask, Carl Glom's ask, because he's tired of going out every weekend collecting signatures. He'll still do it though, trust me, I know Carl will. We gotta get over the finish line, guys. We are so close. We have never been this close in our life. But I need a little bit more money. So, if there's a brave soul that'll stick their hand in the air, or better yet, their checkbook in the air, I don't care if you give me $1, $2, $10, $100, $1,000, or give me another 10,000. I got some going up. If you don't have it right now, I'll take a pledge. If you don't want everybody in the room to know, pull your phone out and go to tnm.me/donate.
You know me.
Thank you, Earl.
Here's the hat.
There goes Earl. He'll pass the hat and he'll get it.
Take it that way.
And this is the cool deal. And I tell everybody this. You've heard me beg y'all for money before. If I don't want your gas money, I don't want your bread money, I don't want your electric bill money. I want your Starbucks money, your cigarette money, your out to eat money that you didn't need that another meal.
That's Lisa's problem.
Raw money. I don't know about that one.
Well, don't ask for no vodka money. Don't do that.
But guys, anything that you give, whether it's the $1
You missed it.
to whatever, it helps because the $2 buys us one more signature, and we're at 64,000. We are closing in. If y'all hadn't figured it out, the Texit train has left the station. All right, now I'll shut up and we'll talk to the experts up here. We have Mr. Dr. Matt Gravois. I probably don't ever say his name right. So Dr. Q, Doc. Then Graham Moore from the English Constitution Party. Mr. Daniel Miller from the TNM, Texas Nationalist Movement. And Marcus Ruiz Evans from Cal-Exit. So we got a lot of visitors on that stage. And guess who our moderator is going to be? None other than the fiery Claver Kamal Money. These fellas are going to talk to you all about what they're doing in all of their independence movements. So please enjoy it. After that, we will go home. I promise.
Whatever one boss man says I got. Give it to Daniel. Hey, y'all. Hey.
Hey!
Howdy, Texans. Love all of y'all. Thank y'all for being here tonight. Thank y'all for coming from wherever you came. On God's green earth, we love you very much. Thank you for your contributions financially, the work that you're putting in as far as sweat equity is concerned. We're going to get this thing done. You see that we're making progress. Daphne was talking about the inaccurate media coverage that we've been getting. I had to talk Kara off the ledge. Because the point, look, if we're getting multiple media outlets coming to take a little peekaboo at exactly who we are and what we're doing, that is a good thing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they may say we're serial killers, but at least they're coming. You know what I mean?
Captain Crunch, if we want to be specific.
Yeah. But they're coming. You know what I'm saying? They know we're on the map, and that's a good thing. And so we need to be grateful that we're getting this type of attention, and that we've got the kind of muscle to where even through social media we can get leftist media organizations to make a retraction and report accurately. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. And so you're part of an organization that is growing in strength, moving towards our goals, and it's inevitable that we shall attain those goals, right?
Right.
Gentlemen, thank you for coming from all over the planet. Thank you so much. Daniel, you didn't have to come that far away.
I mean, Nederland counts as around the planet. I'm not gonna lie.
I think the first question I want to ask, gentlemen, and Doctor, let's start with you. When it comes to the United States, when it comes to Texas, when it comes to human history, we're really kind of still in diapers. And this idea that what is will always be is something that we're going to have to defeat in the Texan movement. That things, the way they've always been, is the way they will always be. That's not the case. History doesn't teach us that. We don't learn that from history. Things change. And other societies, other cultures, they've got their head around this. But for some reason here in America, and especially in Texas, it's as if this is the way it is, and this is the way it's always going to be. How do we defeat that mentality that change can be done, that it's inevitable, that throughout the human history, for the 250,000 years that Homo sapien has been walking upright, change has been inevitable? Doctor.
I'm not quite sure what the question is, sorry.
There's my credentials as a journalist. Change happens.
Yes,
What change happens? Things don't stay the same throughout human history. They change. Correct?
Yes. Yes.
Could you please expound?
Yes, I can expand on it. So sorry to be a bit rude here. No, I wasn't actually, because we're friends. I think the important thing here is when you say it's inevitable, then it is not inevitable that things change. You have to push for change. If you don't push for change, then they will not change. There's nothing automatic about change. Will always happen, and change is going to come. I could bring out a song here. The key thing about change in relation to creating new states is that you need to have three things, really. And the Greeks knew something about this, but I'm not going to go into a long academic lecture about it. But you need to have three things to convince people. You need to have the credibility to speak. You need to be somebody that people are willing to listen to. Then you need to have a credible story. You need to have a narrative. You need to have a credible solution to a credible problem. And then you need to have passion. So you need to tick all those boxes. You need to be somebody who says, well, actually, this person knows what he or she or they are talking about. And then you need to have, a credible solution to a credible problem. If people see you as just another sort of like, there are loads of political issues that are out there that are seen as not a credible solution. There are loads of people with those ideas. And then the most important thing, if you're creating a movement of change, is that that movement has to appeal to everyone. So if you want to create a new state or just even a movement for change, like they have in Catalonia or in Scotland or in Quebec, then the lesson is you can't say that I heard before there was a talk here and people said, you're a conservative and so on. An independence movement is not conservative. An independence movement is an independence movement. It is independent of political parties. You can't talk politics. Politics is the language of division. The definition of politics is the sphere where you distinguish between friend and enemy. And if you want to have an independence movement, then you have to agree. So that means the woke people as well as the non-woke people, the conservative people as well as the non-conservative people, the religious as well as the irreligious people. You need to have a thing which is appealing to everyone. So when Finland, when Norway, when Iceland became independent, they became independent because in the case of Iceland, the Libertarian Party worked with the Communist Party. So I don't know if there are any communists in Texas. I think it's unlikely. There are some libertarian. Well,
primarily in the Texas House.
And this is actually a serious point, because if I go to the coffee shops in Austin, where you have the hippies and the batik shirts and so on, I don't see them here. Why are they not here? That's the problem. That's the challenge. If you want to create change, and I know. The Texas, the California experience is that you get the hippies from San Francisco as well as the tech types or whatever. So you need to have all of those people. So change is created when you create a movement that is all-encompassing. If you say it's just for the conservatives or just for the liberals, then you just become a sect and then you become irrelevant. And then you can talk among yourselves and you can be very happy and you can sort of scratch each other's backs. That's fine. But I think, well, you can speak for yourself later, but I think the experience you have in our neighbouring country, Scotland, that really ought to become independent because they're completely different from England. In Scotland, you have a Scottish National Party where the two candidates, credible candidates for leadership, one of them was a Muslim and the other one was a Christian fundamentalist who believed that divorce was a sin. We've got a quite far right Christian, if we can say that. But they had complete disagreement on religion and so on, but they agreed on one thing, an independent Scotland. And that's only just to getting a credible movement started. So, and the second thing is that opinion polls are great. People will say anything to a pollster if it's an abstract question. What you need to do is that you need to convert that into a practical movement. So anyway, that was a longer answer to.
No, it was a good answer, Doctor. Thank you very much. Graham, I want to go to you. You guys are from same part of the planet or whatever, but what I'm trying to get at is one of the barriers that we are facing in the Texas movement is this idea, this mindset that change is not inevitable, that the way things are, they must remain the same. If that was the case, we would still be a colony of Great Britain. Things change, and that change has to be accepted. And the good doctor is right that yes, there must be a mobilization, there must be an impetus, there must be an inertia to get the change done. But the thing that we're trying to get across to the psyche of Texans is that change is okay, and it's time for change, and that change throughout human history has been a part of human history, that things don't stay the same forever and ever, amen. Please, Graham, can you speak to this point?
The main point to remember, so you go back to, there was a couple of things said before I actually come on the stage. the thing to remember is the establishment, whatever you want to call them, the regime that's in place. The regime that's in place is obviously going to keep voting for itself to stay in place, right? What you're actually talking about, there is an advancement, and the advancement is that instead of using violence, for example, the Peasants' Revolt, right, of 1381 in England, just to let you all know, they didn't go to attack the king, they went for the judiciary, right? And there's a reason why I'm saying that. Every revolution has a slightly different reason for happening, but it always comes back to the people, right? So getting to the question, this is part of what's going on. The people who control the media and control the message that you want to give that change can happen, right? The people who control the propaganda. What I tell people is propaganda, there's another name from it, and it is basically the devil whispering in your ear, and it is controlled by evil people that control you now, right? So you're standing up as people to say enough is enough. Getting back to a couple of things. So what this is with Texit, everyone here should have heard the term governed by consent. Does everyone understand what that means? Do you know where it come from? England, right? There was a case in 1703. Don't forget I'm a constitutionalist, so I give a different opinion and I always return. Our main saying on my show and anywhere I go, people ask me, what is the solution? And I always tell them, the Constitution is the solution. Ashby versus White in 1703 was that case. It was about consent. And there was a judgment, and that judgment was by 10 lords and the monarchy, Queen Anne, right? Even the judiciary, so completely different to 1301, was on our side, right? The people who were the problem were the people in Parliament, right? So you have a similar situation going on. Every 400 years, there is a major movement with the people where the established power starts to take liberties with the people. So you've got to go back to, you must always be positive. And again, I'm going to refer to, I'll just say Dr. Matt. Something that's really important, don't get involved with politics. This is about independence and freedom. That cause is bigger than any other cause. That idea transgresses boundaries, walls, bullets and bombs. The idea of that is what you, by word of mouth, by social media, need to spread. Because what they're doing is using the high tech, they're using, again, on Twitter, most of your censorship on Twitter was coming from London. It wasn't coming from Washington, DC. It was coming from London. That's confirmed. That was actually put in your Supreme Court. That's where it was coming from. You're fighting the same people. Sometimes you have to learn from history and learn how to do it. I'm going to say this just to give you an example of that again. And it's from history. If you go and read about the Glorious Revolution of 1688, there's a really comical part. And I've got this from the archives. I used to play cards, playing cards in the alehouses, right? On the back of the playing cards, they had cartoons of all the people in power who they didn't like. And when the soldiers walked into the alehouses, they had to hide the cards, right? Them cartoons were the equivalent that we've got today of memes. They was doing the same thing in 1688. They was doing the same thing in 1388. Nothing on this earth is new. Look at history. The people that are in charge of this have not learned from history. That's the point, right? So you've got to remember, it's a positive message, not a negative message. The propaganda is what you're facing. And propaganda is the devil whispering in people's ears. Keep your message pure. It's about freedom. That's the way you'll win. And if anyone says you're a bunch of nutters, that's exactly what they said to UKIPper. I was a UKIPper, right? We had 2 locks on. We had to get the first lock off, and now we're on the second lock. And the second lock is English exit. And then we will be almost identical to Texas. I think that. Hopefully I'll try to answer it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think we all learned something from that, indeed. I want to move to this side of the pond. Am I inaccurate, Daniel? Is that a major challenge that we're facing as far as a mindset, the idea that change can't be done, that what is must always remain, that it cannot be changed? Is it a major challenge? And then we'll get to Cal exit.
Look, I think it's a valid point to make, and I understand where Dr. Porter's coming from. I mean, the doc is right, is that change doesn't happen. But the thing that we have to remember is the push and pull of history. If we stay inert thinking things are going to be exactly as they are, there are forces out there that are not still. They're pushing every single solitary day. And so consequently, the idea that the status quo will forever be is fallacious, because there are people out there that don't believe that. There is a trajectory, a momentum that happens. And so for us, particularly in our movement, and I think this applies across the board. I mean, I know it does to every independence movement that we've ever dealt with. It's that you have to begin to instill in your folks this idea that change is possible. One of the first battle, and I've said this before, the first battle that we had to overcome after we founded the TNM was we had to go out and cure the worst case of self-confidence that Texans had. I mean, it was the world's worst case of self-confidence and self-reliance and self-belief. Because the number one thing when we would go out and talk to Texans and share with them the idea about Texas independence was, can we really do that? It can't happen. We're not big enough. We're not strong enough.
That's what I'm talking.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm trying to get. That mindset of no, we can't. We did how, why, how. That's what I'm talking about, Daniel.
Well, and look, it's a mindset. I'm not going to speak for our colleagues, that are up here, but I know that, again, in independence movements that we've dealt with, that is the first hurdle that you have to overcome, is that feeling in the populace of helplessness, that there is no hope. And where's Lori? Lori Brennan, there you go. Hopium is not a strategy, right? Right? You've heard, I don't know if you guys have heard her say it, but trust me, if you will tune into the Texas Accelerator, you will hear it weekly, and you will hear it from her. Hopium is not a strategy, but at the core of that motivation has got to be hope that change is possible. I mean, none of us, I got asked by one of the reporters today that, he asked, when you started down this path, did you ever envision the day that you would be this close to independence? Well, first and foremost, knowing the outlet that he represented, that was a startling admission, right? Yeah. But I told him that no one ever starts something like this, particularly going through all the crap that we have to go through, thinking that you're not going to reach the finish line, right? Hope is possible. I mean, hope is the thing that tells us that change is possible. And the change for us is something that's counter to the change from the other forces that are in opposition to us. So things are not always going to be the way that they are. Look at maps from decades ago. I mean, how valid are those? Go pick up a map from the 1700s, right? Go pick up a map from the 1700s and try to navigate to your nearest grocery store.
From 1950.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, right? So the fact of the matter is that just like the doc said, change is not inevitable. Someone has got to initiate that change. They have to push for that change. The question about determining your future is, who is going to dictate that change? Who is going to be in charge of writing your destiny? Because trust and believe, if you do not take responsibility for writing your future, then there are people out there that are more than willing to do it for you.
Marcus, you're from Cali. Yeah, I want to throw a little something in it, okay?
Go ahead, say whatever you want about California. I've heard it all. You guys have been great.
I have no intentions of insulting California or you. Okay, I'm trying to like elevate the
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, I'm serious, Marcus. No, seriously. California has, as far as Americana is concerned, has always sort of been looked at as cutting edge, as where change starts, as California goes, the rest of the United States goes, or whatever. I'm asking this question in the context of the original query, which is the mindset of resisting change, that the way things are, the way things must stay, the status quo will be the status quo. In a state like California, which is known as being cutting edge, which is known as being bringing on new ideas, do you, in the Cal Exit movement, do you face the same challenge, the same mindset of, oh no, the status quo must be the status quo? Do you face the same thing?
We used to. So I just got to say, Jason Wright, my business partner, hello, I had to mention him. I'll also be speaking at 10 a.m. tomorrow if you want to see it.
Don't keep going. You got to do a hi mom next.
Mom, I'm in Texas. I told everybody it's pronounced Amarillo, not Amarillo. Okay. So I got 50 Mexican cousins in a town called Dumas, which is right next to Amarillo. Not Amarillo, not Amarillo, Amarillo. I know. And so
Nevada. What's the difference?
And when I go home, it's going to be a difference if I don't get this straight. My mom's a Texan, so don't get it wrong. You can take a Texas girl out of Texas, but you can't take the Texan out of her. She's been in California. So just your culture is strong. There was a presentation on the culture. The Texas culture is strong. I can verify for that. Very strong. But I do want to point out something, that the term for this discussion is presentism. Presentism. It's a psychological concept, and it means that we always assume what you said. Everything's always been the way that it's been, right? Because we don't know previous things. It's illogical. I've been doing interviews with about 100 professors looking at political polarization. I talked to some psychologists. We're very illogical, just as a species. And so we assume it can never change. Highly illogical, something we all do. It's in our brain. Now, I want to give you all a quiz. What does Cal Exit, the American Revolution, Gandhi, Estonia, and hold on, Hamas, all have in common?
Wow.
Close. It's the answer to your question. All of them were groups who said, we can do this and the world can change. And everybody out there who tells us that we're wrong is wrong. So there was a guy called Gandhi. He was a big fan of this guy called Hitler. You'll never hear this. Gandhi was for diversity. He couldn't have been for Hitler. Yes, he was, because there was these people called the British who kept his people down for 3 to 4 centuries. And he was told, no Indian can ever take the British Empire down. We've been held by 3 to 4 centuries. Impossible. Nobody can defeat the British Empire. British Empire is always seen what? From sun to sun, never be defeated. And then Hitler kicked him in the ass. And all of a sudden, Gandhi's like, they can be defeated. And then he said, I'm going to start an independence movement. And India was independent 10 years later. There was a country called Estonia. The USSR is going to fall. Every American expert, every USSR politician says, you're stupid, that will never happen. Estonia said, it's going to happen and we're going to get ready for it. You guys are all wrong. And they were right. And then there was the American founders. You're going to make a new country separate from England? Nobody's ever done that. All English people are loyal to the king. What are you talking about? Stupid idea. That's why historians refer to the American Revolution as a leap into the dark. They took a leap into the unknown because they dared to believe that they could be a separate English-speaking people. Totally anathema concept. Didn't care what England and France and all the educated people said in Europe. You're all wrong. They were right. I'm not endorsing Hamas. What they did was horrible and wrong. But for 70 years, we've been told Israel can never be defeated. Their intelligence agency is the best. Their military is the best. They can defeat everybody since 1973. And there was a group who said, no, I think you guys are all wrong. We're going to prepare for 10 years. That's why that was so deadly. They've been preparing for a decade. So there are times in history where a group of people, a movement, will say, we have to get our members to understand that everybody else on the planet is wrong. And we have to get them to believe that insanity, because sometimes it does. And the groups who were able to do that, I wrote the Cal-Exit book in 2012. We built Cal-Exit in 2014. We went to Sacramento in 2014, 2015. You're crazy. You're stupid. California's not a nation. You said California's a nation state? What an idiot. And then we started saying, well, there's this guy called Jerry Brown. He's your governor, and he traveled to China and said we're a separate country. What? That can't be true. So we made a gigantic poster of this because we knew nobody wanted to hear that. They couldn't believe it. And we forced the media to fact check us. And then they came out with an article, look at these liars. They said Jerry Brown did this. It's a lie. We kept pushing it. And then they had to admit it was true. And then Californians had to wake up. Hold on, we got a governor saying we're a separate country? What? I flipped the mindset. Now, when you go to California, we're nowhere near where you guys are at. But one thing that we got done was, before I started, if you said nation state, you are a stupid idiot who's dumb and understands nothing. Now, every professor, politician, our governor says nation state, and everybody goes, yeah, totally. We're totally a nation state. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. We changed that. The Cal-Exit movement changed that. It was stupid before we pushed it in their face, and this can happen. Guess who was right? The governor, all the lawyers, all the professors who said we were stupid? No, they were all wrong. I didn't know Trump was going to get elected, but the day Trump got elected, it was over. We went from 10,000 to 70,000 in about 4 days. 4 days. We would have had more people on our Facebook page than the California Democratic Party, except this weird thing happened where we were growing by 1,000 every minute, and then all of a sudden it just stopped, and I guess people just weren't interested in it. Yeah. Or Facebook manipulated it, but they would never do that, right? No, of course not.
Never.
So the point is, the answer to your question is you have to convince your people. I know these lawyers and these professors and the guy down the street has said this. They're all wrong. And you have to believe that.
You know he can hear you, right? You know the professor can hear you, right? Okay, I'm just making sure.
I want to bring it. I want to say this. You guys have an advantage over us. Brexit had an advantage over us. Here was the advantage. You had people that were still alive and kicking before the establishment of the EU, and they remembered what it was like before the EU. Okay, here in Texas, or whether it's Cal, we don't have that remembrance. I spoke yesterday from Judges chapter 2 about how the people forgot history. The generation died and the next generations came and they forgot history. In Brexit, you had people that were still alive before the EU were established, and it said, we don't like this experiment. We don't like how you guys are impacting life in Great Britain. We don't like it. There was a remembrance. It may have been an older generation. Those that were, recently born may not remember, but the generations after World War II, before the EU was established, they remember how life was, and they said, we don't like this experiment. We want to go back to where we were before, regardless of what Scotland wants, regardless of what Wales wants, regardless of what Northern Ireland wants. But we at least remember, as far as the UK was concerned, before the European Union, we remember the level of independence that we had, the level of sovereignty that we had. And we don't like how much has been abdicated to Brussels. We don't like that. We don't have that advantage in Texas and in Cal, okay? Because nobody remembers the days, the colonial period. Nobody remembers that nobody was here when in 1776, and it's been the way it's been. And I'm still harping on this idea of getting the populace as a whole to embrace and to even yearn and hunger for change. Was that not an advantage for you when it came to the Brexit movement? Was it not an advantage that there were the generations that remembered before the EU, before Brussels? Speak, please, if you can, to that.
Well, the answer to that is certainly, so it's the easiest way to explain this. First of all, I think you're wrong in what you just said with one element, and I want to go back to that. The important part is, with the EU and with that exit movement, you had two lots of people. I know this sounds strange, but it is actually true. You've got the older generation, and then there was a section in the middle, and then you had the younger generation. It was almost as if there was a lost generation who just was lost to this EU cradle to grave bureaucratic stimuli. They're not good. I didn't use the actual initials properly, right? So the point I'm getting back here is this lost generation. It was almost like the grandparents and the grandchildren were actually coming together. It was like the grandchildren were listening to the grandparents and not right to their own parents. Their parents were the lost generation, right? And the younger generation was wanting to aspire to that freedom that their grandparents had, that their grandparents fought for. It was respect. So let me just say this, Joe. Why I think you was wrong in what you just said there. Does that exist here? Yeah, it does. I'm seeing it, right? That same thing. It's not about whether you was there during the colonial period or during this period or what. The answer directly lies in the way the communication between the people. You've got a situation. I could ask anyone here, and I know for a fact I'll get the answer, right? Do you all remember a time when the federal government, as much as possible, kept their nose out of your business? Right. That's the thing that's getting to people. They're seeing it, and the people. And then the grandparents are telling the stories. There was a big story about Waco. Everyone should have heard that. Most of the internet has, right? Let me just say this to you. Them grandparents are telling that story about that situation, about the federal government, right? I know this is, again, sounding strange, but it's right. You all love your police force. You love your local district police force, your sheriffs. A sheriff that will stand up and turn around to the people, all armed, right? I'm going to deputise you, right? That can't happen with the federal government. What happens when the FBI comes on here and says, we're taking control? I'll tell you what happens. The sheriff, the local marshals, the local people hiss at the federals, at the feds, right? That's the difference. And people are seeing that, right? You don't need colonial rule and to have witnessed that. You just need to see the change in the last 20, 30 years. And that's what we could see. I was free when I was 18, free-ish, right? When I was 18. I could go around my mate's house, borrow a shotgun, and just go shooting. I could go around another mate's house, get a 357, right? He was licensed, I wasn't, but I could have got a license, it wasn't a problem. No, it's just, you couldn't do anything. You can't have a shotgun in your house or a gun in your house. You can't have anything. And licensed, and then they put them in safes, and then you've got to keep the ammunition separate, and then all these other things. What I'm trying to say to you is, gradually they nicked a bit and nicked a bit and nicked a bit. So before I go on, I just want to make sure everyone understands one thing, right? There is a group of people globally that are responsible for this to a large extent. They control the WEF, they control the World Health Organization, they control all these things, right? This group of people are called the British Fabian Society, right? I've been at their events. I've stood up in front of 3,000 of them and arrested Sadiq Khan on the stage. It went live to 157 countries, right? And everyone said to me, well, not everyone, the press who was there said to me, you've arrested him because he's a Muslim. I said, I've arrested him because he's subverting the English constitution. He is a Fabian. He is a Marxist. Do you understand? And again, people started to realise that that's what we were standing up against. The English were standing up against Marxism, Nazism, communism. That is forbidden. When people call me a Nazi or call me a commie, that's the bit that's weird about this, right? Is all these different people, they call me a communist, a Nazi, a Marxist. And do you know what I say to them? I'm an Englishman. That's what I am. And I don't believe in left and right politics, just to let everyone know. So when people start calling you names, you stand up, mate. They say all these things. You stand up, you say the same thing as me. Except what you're actually saying is, I'm a Texan. Right? That's it. That's the message, the positive message of freedom. So getting back to you, you're seeing not just the encroachment of the federal government, that is the British way. And again, don't want to cause offence, I call them Yankees, and the Yankees are British.
Doctor, I think you're chomping at the bit, Doctor. You want to get in there and say something on this, right? He's good.
I just have to say that, no, I think I'll pass.
The difficulty of breaking through the mentality is we learn so much as Texans. We learn so much from cultures and societies that have existed for millennia and have changed through the millennia. We need to study these things as Texans because we're still babes, essentially, and we're moving towards historical adulthood, if you will. And thanks, Dave. And well, if we only have 5 minutes, I think I should shut up, and I should let you gentlemen of renown just give a closing thought about the possibility. The subject was independence movements around the globe. And I really wish Texans would get their heads around the fact that for the entirety of human history, there has been shifts, there has been changes in government, in culture, in society, in belief systems, in religion, the whole 9 yards. There's been change, and the idea of change is not scary, it's exciting that we move toward it, that there's a betterment that we're striving for, a quality of life that we're striving for. That's what the Texan movement is all about, that we want life, a better quality of life. We want to feel liberty before we take our last breath. We want to be prosperous. We want to see free enterprise unbridled based on what this country was founded upon that has been lost, but perhaps found again with a free and independent sovereign Texas. And so I want to give you guys, if you only have 5 minutes, there's 4 of us here, 1 minute each. Could you give us a word of encouragement to keep us going towards the global change, that Texas will be a global player, that we can have an impact on global economics, global geopolitics? Can you give us a word of encouragement? Doctor, you first.
Yes, I think I can. I think the key thing is that there's a man called Machiavelli, who's an Italian, who wanted to reunite Italy. It took 400 years for them to get round to that. And he says in the concluding part of his book, The Prince, he says, basically there are 2 things in history. There is fortune and there is virtue. And virtue in Italian means something about being virtuous. It basically means that sort of, I think it's called chutzpah, or that sort of like, you sort of kick through basically. I would say kick ass, I think we can say, if I'm allowed to be.
That's proper Texan.
It's proper Texan, yeah. Well, we're slightly one letter extra in our language. And then he said, you know, Fortuna is that sort of like fate, and people can be fatalistic. He said, no. And then he says in rather sort of sexist language, he says, but sometimes, he says, fortune is a woman, and sometimes you need to treat her badly. And a lot of feminists sort of get upset about that. And he says, basically, if you fight back against fortune, you might be able to beat fortune. Now that's if you sort of take the sexist bit out of it, that is actually the only way you can get change. So, you know, don't be sort of defeatist about it. Then he uses I think I used the metaphor before. He says sometimes the storm will come in and the flood will overwhelm your fields and so on. Well, the proper thing to do about this is then to make canals so that you can utilize the water, so you can irrigate your fields, so you can actually get things to grow. So instead of working against fortune or fortuna or fate or whatever we call it, you need to work with that. And sometimes you just need to basically stand up to what seems to be the necessity of history and just kick back and say, well, you might be fortune, but I'm not happy with fortune. I'm not happy with fate because I kick back. So you have to have the ability to say, I won't accept things as they are. A famous Frenchman called Tocqueville traveled in America, and he said, he was puzzled by this place. And he said, if you want to understand America, it's not understanding history, but it's understanding that a new political science is needed for a world in itself quite new. And we are in a new world, and we need to create a new political science, not just look backwards. I mean, history has happened. History doesn't ever repeat itself exactly. Sometimes that's the fatalistic thing, always just been like that always. You need to kick back on history. You need to defeat fortune, and you need to have this thing that's called virtue. Virtue is an Italian word. In Italian, it's virtù. And virtù does not mean to be a virtuous person, but it's an ability to sort of be able to shift around. The ability that it's we talk about virtuoso performers, and that comes close to it. A great violinist, a great chess player, a great tennis player, a great artist of any kind is somebody who has that ability to improvise, to shift, to roll with the punches.
The
vero, yes. So be a little bit more Italian about it. Don't be sort of like, come on,
Vero.
Okay.
Va bene. Va bene. Graham, please, can we have some words of encouragement from you, please? And if you want to speak Italian, I'm fine.
Ciao, Bella. The one thing I'll say to you from the initial question, which basically was, Texas being global or making these connections, right? Everyone remember what this independence is about, right? You're getting away from the globalization. You're getting away from central management. That's the whole point of this, right? Forget this handshaking with all these countries all around the world. You can do that on the internet. You can do that with diplomats. You can do that in certain ways, right? This is about you locally, controlling your own nation state, your republic. It's about sticking your middle finger up at Washington, D.C. The corruption, the core element of that. That's what this is about, right? So, again, people, I hear this all the time about global this and it's a global world. That's what you're fighting against, right? Take it back to the local level. So what we talk about, especially in England, just to make sure you understand, most people don't get this, right? England was a confederacy, right? It had shires and counties, and it had a light touch English parliament until the British got hold of it, right? That's what happened. Go back and look at Switzerland. In 1848, there was a civil war. It's a confederacy. They attack the people that still have the knowledge of how confederacy works. You simply take back control, right? So get back to what I said earlier about the consent element, Ashby versus White 1703. When you're talking to people, you're simply saying that vote for Texit is I do not consent. I do not consent to be governed by people in Washington, D.C., in the United Nations, and in your global system. We are handing freedom and liberty, the eternal flame of
Amen.
freedom, to
Amen.
our future generations.
Amen.
Go away.
Amen. Amen.
Look, I'm sorry, the only Italian word I know is innuendo, and I think it means suppository. So. We're going to have to wait a second for Claver to settle down. I've been keeping that one in the chamber for a while. Well, look, in the time that I've got, let me just say this. It's always great to talk to the hometown crowd. I'm letting Claver catch his breath. You understand? But I just want. I just want to say this. I just have to look. Marcus, do something. He's your neighbor. But look, I just want to say this. First and foremost.
Yeah, Mamma Mia.
Yeah. Okay. You know it's late at night when he's sunk into ABBA instead of wrapping this up, right? So look, first, I want to thank all of y'all for being the troopers to hang in here. Look, it's been a long day.
Yes.
And you guys are the diehards of the diehards, and you've got the spirit to make this happen. But I want to give you some perspective on what you stayed for tonight. You have a representation up here of independence movements from around the world. You had a man who came in from England, flew in, caught a taxi from Austin to Waco. By the way, that's
Lord have mercy.
That's what I said. Give me the bill.
yeah. So if anybody knows any connections where he can get rid of a kidney on the black market to cover his taxi bill, he'd appreciate it. But look, he's here to show you that independence is happening in other places. And that while it may not be the same, we may not have the same politics, we may not have the same concerns, but at its core, we support the right of self-government and self-determination. And that we're colleagues, we're friends, we're on the same journey together. And then here you've got Marcus. I've known Marcus first time I've actually been able to see Marcus live and in person. I was going to think he was an AI generated avatar. But Marcus came here from California to show you guys, look, we don't have to agree on specific policies. We don't have to agree on specific ways of governing. What we can agree on is let California govern California and let Texas govern Texas. And Marcus and I can argue about whatever on policy, but at the end of the day, we know that we're ultimately on the same road.
Absolutely.
And then right down here, you got Professor Matt Quarterback, the doc. I can't call you professor, man. You were not on Gilligan's Island. I saw the professor. You don't look like that. You don't have the same accent. But I'm sorry. Thank you all. I'll be here. I'll be here all evening. But look, the doc, and I'll wrap this up because I want to give this to Marcus, and then we've got to wrap up. But I want to tell you that the doc here has got a pedigree. He's been able to look at independence movements around the world and comes with a phenomenal perspective about how independence is a global trend. And to show that, look, we don't have to agree on everything as long as we can ultimately agree that we should be able to govern ourselves. And he gives us tremendous insights. So this is what you were able to witness tonight, a peek into the wider world of independence movements to tell you that here in Texas, you're not alone. But guess what? Around the world, you're not alone either. There are people that are working just like you.
Marcus. I'm going to channel my best Daniel Miller here.
Already used the innuendo joke.
If you're doubting that Texit's going to happen, I'm going to say this with love. It might be disrespectful. You're clearly unaware. BRICS is coming. Anybody know what BRICS is? Okay, it's going to replace the US dollar. You all have inflated value, and your parents and your grandparents had since World War II because the dollar was the world trade currency. That's going away. There's nothing you can do about that. Most of the economy, 60 to 80%, is going to be in Asia in the next 20 years. For the last century, you as Americans own 60% of the global economy. In the next 20 to 30 years, you will only own 25. You will not have the dollar. You will not dominate the economy. Your allies like Turkey, the Philippines have already turned on you. They're looking for other people. Canada, the other people in NATO after Trump and then with Biden are looking to form a new association. Look it up. Canada and Japan are shopping for a new NATO because they don't think America's dependable. Okay. We also have Marjorie Taylor Greene and Ted Cruz sitting Congress members talking about secession. Last time that happened was 1860. You guys are close to actually getting this on the ballot. I got to tell you, in California, I don't think, and I told this to Daniel, I'm sorry if I'm insulting, I don't think you guys got how big a impact that was. I really don't think you guys are appreciating that when you get that on the ballot, game over. That never happens. Yeah. They will always destroy you before you get there. They will make sure to usurp you and put your voice in the wrong way. When you're in the ballot, it goes right to the voters. You're done. You won. Because you'll never come back from that step. They'll never be able to say, oh, yeah, they got it on the ballot and a lot of Texans voted for it, but let's ignore that. No, that will be a momentous moment in Texas. Every Texan, whether they like Texas or not, will never be able to forget that. You will be on a new plateau. You do not realize how close you are being on the plateau. You do not realize how close you are to being a professional political party. $1 million, they destroyed Calexit in 5 days. Because they said we were Russian spies, and in 5 days I lost $90,000, more than what you're looking for. They go for the money first. You're close to making $1 million? My God. You could actually, people think, oh, California, they wanted to split us into 3 states. That was as popular as Calexit. It never happened. There was a billionaire who had $2 million. He just bought the signatures. Then it got on TV, and then everybody talked about it. When you get this on the ballot, expect more media coverage than you can handle. Expect more tax than you can handle. Expect more interest than you can handle. That is the next step. You're close to achieving it. I don't think you appreciate it. Your life's about to change. And if you think America's not going to change, you are damn ignorant. The dollar's going away. Our allies don't support us. They're shopping for other people. The world hates us now. Remember when we go, oh, the world is with us against Russia. And then 70% of the population of the world said, no, we're not. And then we said, oh, we don't want a humanitarian corridor in Gaza. We were 2 countries in the entire planet who did that. Do you think the rest of the world didn't notice? America's going away. You do not have the power, the wealth, the influence you've enjoyed since your grandfathers in the Bretton Woods Conference in 1945. It is going to die. If you're not aware of that, you're ignorant. If you think that things are going to stay the same in Texas with that, America's going to change in ways you can't even imagine. We're going back to the way things were in the 1930s. Your great-grandparents. Nobody's aware of that. So things are changing. You have achieved more success than you're appreciating, and we have historical events in Congress that have not happened in 160 years. You must be out of your damn mind if you don't think that you guys are on the verge of a massive change here. Thank you.
Let's thank these gentlemen of intelligence, of renown. Thank them for coming and speaking to us. Gentlemen, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
The Exeteers.
Thank you so much. Thank y'all. Y'all be blessed. Boss lady.
Thanks, everyone. And once again, thank you for the kind donations that you so generously took out of your pockets tonight to help us reach the goal. And I hope Marcus brought that home to y'all tonight, guys. We're almost there. Keep going. We will see you guys early in the morning.
I'm speaking at 10 a.m.
There will be a worship service starting at 8:30. Claver will be directing if you want to come to that. And everything else starts at
Yes.
9 a.m.
Well, because I went to the Abbeville Institute conference, which was something like this.
Oh, yes.
And